So I recently went to WatCon, which, in case you don't know, is a Wheel of Time convention that is held in Columbus, Ohio every year in the summer. And it is awesome. It's truly one of my favorite places to be. This fandom, this community, I love us. I really do. Anyway, okay, while I was there, I got to be on a few panels. One of them was called Build an Outrigger. I'm actually curious to know if other book series use that term. But okay, anyway, to explain what I mean, in case you don't know what that is, Robert Jordan had planned, after finishing the Wheel of Time books, to write what he called Outrigger books. That would basically be spin-offs, other stories told within the world of the Wheel of Time. The one that I know of that he had planned, and it's one that I think anybody knows, like it's the only one I think anybody knows specifically about, would have been a continuation of the story after the events of the book's end. But the notes that exist in his plans for these Outrigger novels, they're minimal. And like there are many stories that can be told after the end of the series, because I don't know if you know this, the Wheel of Time has a lot of characters, there's a lot of moving parts there. So this panel, those of us who were on the panel, which included Maria Simmons, who worked directly with Robert Jordan. She was his assistant. She helped him with the research. We also had two writers, Matt and Jen, and myself and Darius. We initially came up with a jumping off point for us to flesh out more during the panel. We were very, very lucky, as I said, to have two writers on the panel. So we had Matt, who is an author, and he's also one of the co-hosts of the Queers of Time podcast. We also had Jen, who is a television writer and a screenwriter, and 1/3 of the Three Wheeling podcast with Meg and Rob, Mount Gear Talks. Together, they wrote this amazing introduction for the Outrigger that we used, as I said, as a jumping off point to flesh out with everyone who attended the panel. And it was read, the introduction that they wrote was read by Michael Kramer and Kate Redding. I'm sorry, this is just, I can't believe it happened. It was amazing. Anyway, that's what I'm going to talk about in this video, because I thought some of the ideas that we came up with were really cool. And I've also had some ideas since we did this panel that I want to talk about, and I want to know what people think about, because my head has just been like blah, 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 thinking about this ever since. So yeah, but of course, because we were talking about things that happened after the end of the series, this video is going to have spoilers for the entire book series, for things that happened at the very, very, very end. Major spoilers. So if you haven't finished the books, I'm sorry. Once again, this is not a video for you. I don't know, like the video, do the subscribing thing, whatever. Thank you for stopping by, and the rest of you, let's talk about this Outrigger.
Let's be nerdy with Let's Be Nerdy. Let's be nerdy with Let's Be Nerdy.
Okay, so I'm not going to read you the entire introduction, and I'm not going to summarize the entire panel, because I feel like that would, A, take a very long time, and B, rather dull and chaotic, because we were just, bouncing ideas back and forth off of each other. But I did just want to talk about some of the really cool ideas that people had, and also the idea I had. Let me know if you think it's cool. And I want to know your thoughts about these. So the characters we had in the introduction that was written by Matt and Jen were Uno, Lylewyn and Bail Domon, and Elaine. And, okay, I'm going to try and summarize this, and it's going to lose all of its juice because it was written so well. But basically, okay, Lylewyn Egianan comes to meet with Elaine to give her a letter that she found from Egwene after Egwene's death. And the letter states that Egwene wants them to launch a mission to rescue Elaida. Yes, as well, of course, as the emancipation of more Damani, as many as possible, of course. To this end, there are 3 quote-unquote seeds planted that need to be found. One is with Sylviana, one is with Elaine, and one of them is on the island of Trimalking. Now, I have to tell you, one of the things that is difficult for me when I am collaborating with people is the time zones. So the rest of them came up with this idea of Egwene having specifically laid plans for the rescue of Elaida while I was asleep. And I read it when I woke up, and it made me so happy, because I feel like the books end with Elaida enslaved, and the feeling we're supposed to have is, yep, that's what she deserves, because she was horrible. And I'm like, no, slavery is not a punishment, it's evil, and if anybody knows that, it would be Egwene. And Elaida wasn't evil. She was just incredibly unpleasant, and even if she was evil, slavery is not a punishment. It's not a punishment. And the consequence of this does not fit the crime. And so I love the idea of Elaida being the focus of this mission, a mission that Egwene of all people set. Obviously, the emancipation of as many Damani as possible, of course, but Elaida being the focus of a mission that Egwene sets, it's just, mwah, it's chef's kiss. It's so Egwene. And I think that there's a couple of good justifications for this. The one that I brought up in our pre-panel discussion was just the optics of it. To the outside world, Elaida was a seated Amerlin. And so the Shanshan having captured her is a huge optical victory. And the White Tower should not let that stand. I still think that's valid, but the reasons that the others came up with are much more substantial. For one, she may have now knowledge of Tower secrets, although it's likely that she gave up any secrets she had rather quickly. This story that we were crafting, by the way, takes place about a year after the ends of the events of the last battle. So, it's been a minute. But she was also manipulated by one of the Forsaken, and while she may not yet be aware of that, if that information gets out, that would be devastating for the Tower. They basically need to remove her from a position of risk where she could let information out that could dismantle and completely ruin the Tower's reputation. So, okay, that's the mission that we're on. We're on the mission to rescue Elaida and rescue as many Damani as possible using seeds that Egwene planted, or knows about, I guess, in Sylviana, in Elaine, and on the Isle of Tremalking. And as I said, this introduction was meant to be a jumping off point. So, of course, the immediate discussion we had after that was, what are these seeds? I will tell you that the one left with Sylviana, we did not address very much. The most we came up with during the panel that I can remember was that perhaps Egwene had said something to her that would be a clue or clues to further her plans that Sylviana wouldn't recognize as clues until somebody said the right thing to her or asked the right questions. So, okay, I'll move on from her to Elaine. So Elaine's talent, like in the books, is basically it's Angreal. She's able to copy and make Angreal. And the first Angreal that she made, as far as I remember, was an Idam. So the suggestion was made that what if she'd figured out how to make a fake Idam? Now, this thought didn't get explored very much, but it did get me thinking afterwards. So here are my thoughts. She can't just make like necklaces and bracelets. Everybody would immediately know. Like if they just look like Idam but don't do anything, everybody would know that, right? Like the Damani are walking around without vomiting, the Soldam aren't feeling anybody's sensations. That wouldn't work at all. So a fake Idam would have to work to some degree in order to go undetected. So this is the thought that I had. What if it was an Idam designed to maybe deteriorate over time, or maybe reverse control over time, or most devastatingly, although I can't figure out how to make this work in my head with the magic system of the book, an Idam that over time makes it impossible for the Soldam to not channel on their own. I think the reason that all of my ideas involve the gradual change of the Idam is the use of the word seed. It just, like, that word resonated with me, and I kept thinking of things that would grow and change over time. So I was thinking of things that would slowly cause problems in Shanshan territory. And this is what I thought of. Like, remember how in the books, not in the show, Retta casually mentions that there are Damani who can make Idam and that they are especially petted and treated really well. They probably copy the Idam, right? So what if you can somehow start to replace the original Idam with Elaine's fake ones that appear perfectly normal for a while, and they end up somehow with a Damani who can copy them? This would be a slow process, but it would eventually be devastating for the Shanshan in the best way possible. So, okay, those are the ideas that we had for seeds left with Elaine. Well, there were other ideas, but those are the ones that were most interesting to me. It's my channel, so they're the ones that I'm talking about. But okay, now we move on. Sorry, being all dictatorial. Now we move on to Tremalking. And this one was the one that was the most exciting for me. I loved the ideas that we came up with for this and the ideas that it sparked in my head afterwards. Tremalking is not in Shanshan territory, so the ideas that we came up with, we decided it was a great place to have as a way station for the Damane Underground Railroad. Now, I've talked about this before. This, in my mind, is the natural story for any outrigger of the Wheel of Time. Slavery, still being an institution at the end of the story, is such a loose end that it begs to be addressed. And so this, to me, is just obvious, especially with both Matt and Min being situated and like where they are in the Shanshan Empire. But okay, Tremalking is an island, so we need boats, and that gives us a great job for Bail Domon, and because Uno was a part of the story, we could just have Uno in there because he's always fun. And in my head, if you put Uno in there, and then I want to put Nynaeve in there because Nynaeve and Uno are just I love them together. But okay, anyway, although in my head also Nynaeve is over on the Isle of Madmen fixing things. Timing. Okay, anyway, so we've got Bail Domon and Uno on a ship, and then we can also get Lylewyn shipless back on a ship, and then Jen Sedai had this amazing idea that as part of this journey that Lylewyn goes on, she would decide to take back her name and become Aegianan again. And she said it so much better on the panel. I literally got tears in my eyes when she said it. I could see it. I can totally see it. I can see Aegianan. I'm calling her that now because in my mind that is now canon. She's a part of rescuing these Damani, these women, and seeing the horrors that they have been through and realizing that she cannot let the Shan-Chan Empire dictate who she is. She is not going to let someone she no longer respects determine who she can and cannot be. I love this idea so much. Then we also had some discussion about Min. And well, okay, this is not an idea that came up during the panel, and it's kind of the reason I wanted to make this video, because it's an idea I had after the fact that I want to bounce off of people. So I'm going to bounce it off of you all now. Okay, we were reminded during the panel that Tuon is pregnant at the end of the books. So she would have had her child by now. What if she had a daughter and Min had a viewing of her? Okay, now this was actually brought up during the panel. The idea that Min had a viewing of Mat and Tuon's daughter as Empress of a Shan-Chan without slavery. But I've had a much darker idea. Do you remember Min's viewing of Gawain? She actually had two viewings, or like a simultaneous, I don't know. Okay, she had one viewing where Gawain was knelt at Egwene's feet with his head bowed, and one with him breaking her neck, as if either could be the future. So basically it was like two branching paths, like possible futures. What if Min had a viewing of Mat and Tuon's daughter, one where she is a Damane and one where she is an Aes Sedai? Oh, when I thought of this, I got so excited because, like, one, it once again falls into my idea of like a gradual thing coming from the word seed. Their daughter is a baby now. She can't channel, so this is not something that's going to happen immediately. But okay, it also got me thinking, what would Min do if she had this viewing? Who would she tell? She sure as hell wouldn't tell Tuon, but would she tell Mat? I think she very likely would. And I love this as an idea because for Mat, both of those would be bad, right? Because he's an idiot who needs to realize that slavery and women who annoy you, those are not equal evils. Because I need Mat to grow up. Some of the conversation we had on this panel was about Tuon getting a redemption, like whether or not she should or not. And like I'm not sure, but what I need Mat to get a redemption arc. I need him to grow up and realize that he needs to actually do something when faced with evil. He can't like play cards with someone who basically confesses to being a sexual predator and be like, well, I will make a snide remark, and then keep playing cards with him and think that your snide remarks make you a good person? Because, like, that's Mat in book 4. He does that shit. Go back and read the section where he's playing cards with the lords in the Stone of Tyr. One of those lords confesses to something pretty horrible, and Mat's like, well, and then he just keeps playing with him. Here's the thing. That would be fine. I mean, not fine. Like, it would, but okay, it would make sense to me if that's where he was in book 4, but by the end of the series, he's learned that, like, oh no, when I am faced with evil, I need to do something about it. But no. In the end, Mat is married to a slaver and doesn't seem to think anything of it. Like, when Egwene, his lifelong childhood friend, who was enslaved by the Shan-Chan, is trying to negotiate with a woman who very much wants to enslave her again, and things get a bit testy, Mat's like, ladies, calm down, or I'm gonna spank you. You think I'm kidding? No, I'm not. He threatens to put them both over his knee if they don't calm down. He sees Egwene's ire at the horrors and indignities of slavery as, like, on a moral footing, the same as Tuon wanting to enslave people. If anyone needs a redemption arc, it's Mat. Like, Tuon, maybe. But I don't care about Tuon as much as I care about Mat. I like Mat. He grew in some ways, but in this one particular thing, there is zero growth. In book 4, he sits at a table with a sexual predator and is like, well, I'm not one of those, so I don't have to do anything about it. I could keep playing cards with him. And at the end, he's like, well, I'm not personally a slaver. I could just keep living here with my wife and it's all good. And like, no, he's wrong. Like, first of all, he does actually capture a Damane and use her in the last battle. So he literally is a slaver. Not to mention, he's probably being served constantly by Dakovali, who are also slaves that everybody forgets about. So, he's participating in this. So in this one particular area, his character actually has a downward trajectory. He's worse at the end than he was at the beginning. And, like, he needs something to push him to get better. And he needs to be confronted with the fact that his animosity towards all the Aes Sedai is just ridiculous. Like, it's nonsense. It's misogyny wrapped in fancy paper. Like, the Aes Sedai are not all great, but he has just this visceral reaction to all of them that is, it's misogyny. I'm sorry, it's what it is. If of all the three boys, he owes his life to the Aes Sedai multiple times over. Moraine specifically saved his life multiple times. The Aes Sedai are the ones who separated him from the dagger, and who knows how many times Varen had to heal him on the road to keep him alive, like from Falma back to the tower. All of this to say, he needs to be redeemed. And I think him having to confront the fact that his beloved daughter is a channeler and her life options are to be a Damane or an Aes Sedai would be an excellent catalyst to get him there. So, okay, how does this fit in with the Outrigger we built? Well, okay, I've been noodling over this ever since I thought of it, and I haven't fully nailed it down. So, any ideas you have, put them in the comments. But this is my vague idea. Matt, not an idiot, right? He would realize that this viewing means that his daughter can channel. And if one of the viewings has her in a collar, it means she has the spark. That means there's no chance of her hiding once she starts channeling. She will be caught. I personally don't think Tuon would even think twice about collaring her own daughter, and I think Matt would know that. So I can see a world in which Matt spirits her away, like his daughter away, and hides her, maybe in Tremalking. And that daughter, she is the seed that is in Tremalking. Now, the reason this isn't fully nailed down is that I'm not sure how it works with the timing of the Outrigger. Like, would Matt do this already? The child would be, like, less than a year old at this point, so I don't know, for this particular story to work, I have to fudge with the timeline some more. But okay, that's it. That's my thought, that Matt's daughter is the seed. Anyway, I think I will leave things here, mostly because that's as far as I've gotten in my thoughts. I will say there were tons of other really cool, amazing ideas that came out in that panel. I did not go over all of them here, so if you had an idea and I didn't say, it's not because I didn't think it was cool, it's just, it would take too long, and this video is already really disorganized. And also, this was mostly just an excuse to get my new wild post-book Matt headcanon out there and find out what people think. So yeah, let me know what you would think, how you would adjust it, what would you fix, improve, change, I don't know. This is just for fun, so let me know your thoughts. And hey, if you like my content and you want to support me, I do have a Patreon that is linked in the description below. To my patrons, as always, I am so grateful to you for your continued support. I could not do this without you. You literally keep the lights on, so thank you. Thank you so, so much. And with that, I will end this here, so please like, subscribe, and hey, I haven't said this for a while. Stick around for the art credits.